Like I said, my name is John Lombardo. I'm 28 years old. I'm from the city of Pittston. I'm a 2015 graduate of Penn State University with a degree in political science. And I currently work in the city of Pittston as a firefighter and EMT for our city fire department and our regional ambulance in the city as well. And I decided to run for Luzerne County Council because I noticed that over the last few years, a lot of my friends and other people my age, other young people, have been moving out of Luzerne County, moving out of the area, northeast Pennsylvania, because they're looking for greener pastures elsewhere in places like metropolitan areas, New York City, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and what have you. I actually just read recently the Northeastern Pennsylvania Alliance comes out with like a comprehensive plan report every so often, and they did a SWOT analysis. So that's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And in the threats category for Luzerne County and for all of northeastern Pennsylvania, 3 of the 5 top threats that they said for growth in the area were from young people leaving. So, I know that Luzerne County is a great place to live, and my hope is that I can attract young people back to the area. And I really want to work individually with municipalities so that we can not just make Luzerne County a great place to live, but a great place to stay.
If elected, are there any kind of initiatives that you would propose to do that? To retain young people? Or?
Yeah, so there's 3 parts to my campaign. The first part is economic development. I want to make sure that we're trying to bring good jobs into the area. I don't necessarily just mean jobs where a factory comes in or a warehouse gets built and then they have a tax break for 10 years and then they leave, paying people $15 an hour. I want to bring jobs and businesses here that actually want to become fixtures in the community. They want to become part of the landscape of Luzerne County. We have a few that do that right now, and I'm really excited about them and the way that they've been growing and expanding. And I think that another part of the reason why young people are leaving is because we have this sort of negative image in Luzerne County, especially involving our government. Our government in the county government is relatively new. It's only 10 years old. So I want to take a hard look at that and make sure that it's doing its best to serve the county and serve the citizens the best way that it can. Over the last 6 months, as you all know, we've had multiple headlines in the newspapers and in the news about things that have gone wrong in our county government essentially because of the way it's been set up. So the first thing that I want to do when I'm elected is propose that we start a committee that's going to actually sit down and review the entire county charter. And I think Councilman Griffith actually proposed something similar, but I think now there's a lot more urgency to do it than there was before because there's been several situations where things have gone wrong. And I think that it's healthy actually to look at our form of government now because it's been about 10 years, so I think it's a good milestone and a good opportunity to review it and see if it's, like I said, serving us the best way it can.
Is there some specific parts of the charter that you think merit consideration for changing?
Yeah, I think that one of them is looking at the actual makeup of county council. I think that there are some pros and cons for having a county council. Originally, actually in 2011, when we voted on home rule, I was actually against it. And it's funny. I remember I was a senior in high school at the time, and I still have the pin I wore on election day that said home rule with a big red line through it. I've always had this sort of not negative opinion of county council and home rule, but this opinion where I'm very critical of it. And I think that if we take a look at the makeup of the council and maybe set forth a way for there to be equal representation to the different parts of the county instead of having everybody come from just the northern part, the southern part, whatever. I think that'll make a big difference. I'd like to see us maybe use the system that we have where our state legislative districts fall, to have councilmen come from there and then maybe 5 at-large seats. That's one thing I'd like to do. And then I'd like to just take a look at every area where the charter sort of conflicts with state government, because, you know, we're wasting a lot of time and money having these conversations constantly about, you know, the election board and the district attorney race and things like that. You know, I think we need to be doing things that are going to be serving the citizens and not, you know, wasting time on problems that we have with our government that we set up.
What's your opinion of the council suing to try to stop this DA?
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that fully. You know, I'm also a board member of the County Republican Party. I serve as the 118th District Chair. I'm also the chairman of the Young Republicans for the county. So, you know, we've held the position that obviously we don't think that this election should have happened in the first place. However, obviously we did endorse District Attorney Sanguadolci. You know, we think he's highly qualified. But we are of the mindset that this election shouldn't happen. You know, that it's misinterpreting the rule. So, you know, I'm completely fine with the county doing what they did.
Obviously, there's been a lot of controversy and turnover in the Bureau of Elections and on the election board itself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you think are the issues there? Are there reforms that could be made and how that system is set up?
Yeah, so, you know, kind of going back to, you know, my whole philosophy of why I'm running is that, you know, I'm really dedicated to this area. I want to make sure that when we're hiring people and when we're vetting people for these positions, that they're going to be dedicated to this area too. They're going to be dedicated to Luzerne County. You know, and they're going to be dedicated to the particular job that they're holding. You know, those are specific questions that I would ask if I was, you know, sitting in an interview process. You know, I'm not saying that most of the people that are around aren't, and, you know, obviously there's just been some controversy with the Election Bureau, and, you know, obviously I don't know why Bob Morgan resigned. You know, just what I've read in the paper. You know, I haven't really tried to get in touch with him or ask anybody, but, you know, I would hope that it would just be for the reason that he's seeking employment elsewhere. So we'll see what happens there. But like I said, I'd like to see people that are in these positions who actually, you know, really care for the job that they're in, and they really want to make sure that they're improving the county and not just there, you know, as it, you know, for it to be a stepping stone.
Probably one of the biggest decisions the next council is going to have is choosing a county manager.
Mm-hmm.
As it looks almost certain that will not happen until next year.
Yeah.
What is it you would be looking for in a county manager?
You know, I definitely want to see somebody that has a business background. I'm of the philosophy that government in general should be run like a business. You know, make sure that we're spending money the best way possible, and, you know, make sure that we're holding our employees accountable. So, you know, I want someone that has that sort of acumen to be the county manager. And I also want somebody who's going to want to work together with each department and who's going to want to work together with the council to do good things.
The last county manager and the current acting county manager, they both have legal backgrounds.
Sure.
What do you think about their performances as a manager?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of lawyers involved in government. Not to say that that's a bad thing, but I think sometimes, you know, we need to look and say, you know, are we doing the best that we can with so many people that are involved in law. So, you know, I think that Dave Pedri has done a very good job as manager. And, you know, sometimes I might disagree with him, or somebody else might disagree with him about the way that he's gone about it, but he was a very hard worker, you know, very dedicated to the job. And Romilda seems to be the same way. So, you know, I'm excited to see what she does over the next couple of months. And, you know, but I think they're both very hardworking, and, you know, they do care about the position that they're in. So, you know, I have nothing, you know, negative to say about them in that regard.
Do you have any concerns about the upcoming election regarding voter integrity or voter fraud?
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, as a conservative, you know, I'm always concerned that we're having the most, you know, transparent election process possible. Obviously, in the primary, we had major issue where Republican ballots were being labeled as Democratic ballots, and I'm sure that that deterred some people from voting. I was absolutely dumbfounded when that happened because, a municipal election should be a no-brainer, out of the park home run for a company that's doing election things. And of course, being that the company that we used has been in the news so much, or at least been in the news in conservative news outlets, they should be taking extra care to make sure that things are, all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed, and unfortunately it's something that didn't happen. And it really, made people question the integrity of the election, another time. And it makes me, upset because I think that it's going to deter a lot of people from voting at all. I think that another thing that people are going to be deterred by is mail-in voting and whether they think their vote is going to count. I don't really know what the answer to that is as far as making people feel safe in their vote. But I think we just need to be taking extra care, as the county, as the election bureau, as the election board, to making sure that these elections go on with as little controversy as possible. Because if they don't, then it's just going to cast a negative shadow on them, and it already has several times. So, and it doesn't help that a lot of our, senior staff in the election bureau and on the election board are resigning left and right. So like I said, that's one of the reasons why I want to make sure we have these people with integrity and these people that want to, actually make the elections bureau better and be dedicated to it are there.
You said before that you mentioned about companies coming in here, building warehouses and getting tax breaks for 10 years. Well, I've covered the county for 4 years, and I've seen that happen over and over again. And every time it happens, a few council members will complain about it, but it's always been approved. I don't think there's been a single one that hasn't been approved. So what are your thoughts on that? Would you support that in principle? Would you raise objections to that, or would you go case by case?
I think I would do it case by case. In general, I do support that type of thing, LERTAs and whatnot. I do think that they are an incentive to bring businesses into the area. But I think it was Councilman Haas that said that there should be a stipulation that maybe the businesses will stay here a little bit longer than the 10 years or whatever it is, whatever their particular stipulation is. But one other thing that I would like to do besides that is maybe give an incentive to businesses who have been here for a long time, not just businesses who want to come here and invest here, but we should take a look at some businesses that have been here for 20, 30, 40 years and they provide decent paying jobs and give them some type of tax break or give them some type of incentive to expand or, to stay here.
I remember in the primary you talked about how you wanted to maintain the environment and the open space of the region. Yeah. Some people might think that there's maybe a little bit of an inherent conflict between what you just said, being so pro-business on the one hand, and being so ardent about trying to maintain the environment and protect it on the other hand. Do you see any discord there between those two? No,
I don't think so. A lot of these businesses that are coming in here are building their warehouses and whatnot on land that would have otherwise been unusable, and that people didn't want to go to. So in that regard, I'm happy that they're coming here and they're developing the land in that way. But what my R&R projects, as I was calling them, means is that I want to make sure that we're revitalizing our green spaces and expanding upon them. We have a lot of parks, a lot of trails. We have, I think, 700 miles of trails in the region here. I want to make sure that we're investing in them as best as we can, because that's what's going to attract young people into the area, is something to do. They love, and I love in particular, doing outdoor activities. So I would like to see an expansion of that. I had just actually spoken to the president of Duryea Council last weekend, and we talked about the Duryea Levy project and the situation with County Council and all that. And I said that, one thing I would like to see is, if this whole project gets approved and things work out, that we can do something in Duryea that's very similar to the rest of the Luzerne County levy system, how we have all these green spaces and, a walking path and things like that. So I really don't think it conflicts, because like I said, the businesses that have the money are the ones who are coming in here and they're actually developing the land, whereas somebody that might be a small business or a small stakeholder might not be able to do that. Sorry if that was roundabout, but
No, that's okay, you can build more roundabouts too.
sure, okay, yeah.
Now, you said you wanted to see council be elected by districts, at least some of the members elected by districts.
Yeah.
Do you still have 11 members on the council?
Again, like I said, I think that would be something that we would have to determine. As a candidate, it's hard to come up with all the answers because you don't know what actually goes on when you're inside, inside the government. So I would like to be able to sit down and talk with the rest of council, once I'm elected, and talk with the other people who have to deal with council every day, to see if they think that, council in its current form is doing a good job. I do think that no matter what, we should maybe try to revise the charter so that we do have districts for the council. I think that helps, because instead of having 11 people going countywide, you want to have somebody that represents your area being on council. Even if it's somebody that, like myself, I'm from Pittston, if I'm in the 118th district, I'd be representing, all of those towns in the 118th necessarily. So, you want to have someone that you can go to. I think that's one of the problems with the charter itself, is that a lot of people, when they have a problem in the county, they don't know who to call. They don't know who to go to. Where if they had a representative or somebody in their district that they could call, a lot of times they might call their state representative's office, or they might call their city office or their township municipal building, and it might be a county issue and they don't know that, or they don't know who to call if it is one. So I think that would go a long way in making sure that, we're, again, like I said, providing the best opportunities that we can for the citizens and making sure that we can solve their problems.
This situation with the Children and Youth Agency, do you find it surprising that there seemed to be a lack of oversight, that this one director could get away with this type of cover-up without anybody on the council or the manager or the solicitor or the human services director seeming to know anything about it and letting this happen?
Yeah, that's a really unfortunate situation. Obviously, it affects the most innocent among us. It affects children, which is something that I'm really passionate about. I was always heavily involved in my school district when I was younger, and when I was in school and after I graduated. So it really got under my skin to see that type of thing happen. And yeah, I do think that there was a huge lack of oversight, and there are a lot of people to blame for that, because that type of thing could have been stopped at any level. It could have been stopped from the council level. It could have been stopped from the controller's office. It could have been stopped from the manager level. And I understand that it might be difficult to oversee all of those different types of things, but somebody should have seen it. Somebody should have reacted in the proper way.
How are you related to Mayor Mike and Councilman Mike?
Mayor Mike is my uncle. He's my godfather. And Councilman Mike is my cousin. He's my second cousin. Yeah. And obviously they're doing very good things for the city of Pittston, and that's where I get a lot of my inspiration from. I live in Pittston City, and I work there, and you might find me there probably 90% of the time. So that's something that is really special to me. And I remember when I was a little kid, and people would tell me stories about the 1980s and the early 90s when you wouldn't want to even drive through Pittston City, and how the town looked and how dilapidated it was, and now how it's so revitalized and so beautiful, and businesses are coming by the dozens, and we have colleges that are setting up campuses in the city, which is really exciting. So I want to take that model of Pittston City and I want to bring that countywide, because Pittston is a great example of what good governance does for a community.
There was a motion last night that got tabled on regarding vaccines and employees. Do you have a take on that particular issue?
So I personally received both COVID vaccines, being my line of work, and unfortunately I've had to see what happens with COVID. I've had to see the effects of COVID in a very direct way, in my job at the fire department and the ambulance. So I know that it's a very real disease and it's very serious. We should be taking it seriously, as we have been. But since the county manager said that she has no intention of bringing any type of vaccine mandate to the table, I really think that, that wasn't really necessary for us to have a discussion about it at all, let alone, bring something up like that. And again, like I said, I'm all about using the taxpayers' time in the best way possible, and that just seems like it was redundant to do it. Now, if she did bring something up like that, I would consider, consider a motion like that. But being that she didn't, I don't think it's worth the
What
time.
if the county manager wants to follow through with the OSHA proposal where you would test unvaccinated
Mhm.
workers every week?
Mhm.
Would that be, do you think that's a good idea?
Ultimately, I think that getting the vaccine is a really personal decision. So, if that's what the county wants to do in order to prevent having a mandate and to prevent the, the exodus of people who won't want the vaccine, I think that would be fine as an alternative. I mean, we're going to be seeing a really huge problem in the healthcare industry in the next couple of weeks and months with all these vaccine mandates and the amount of healthcare workers that are leaving. And it's already completely way overstrained, and it always has been, but since the pandemic started, it's been tenfold. So, seeing that happening and seeing the potential for us to be losing more people from the workforce because of vaccine mandates, it's really, really complicated, but really, upsetting to me because, like I said, I believe that everyone should get the vaccine, but ultimately I don't think that anyone should be told to get the vaccine.
Is everybody, are you required to get the vaccine in your job as a firefighter in Princeton?
At the
Or EMT?
I don't believe there was an actual mandate set forth. I know all of us got it, and at the ambulance, I know they discussed a mandate, but like I said, we all received it, to my knowledge. And then plus, like I said, we see what happens, and the thing about the vaccine is that it, the only person that it actually protects is yourself. So, you still have the potential to be a transmitter. You still have the potential to contract the virus. So, you're doing yourself a favor by getting it. And, that's ultimately what it comes down to, in my opinion, is do you want to take the risk or not? And of course, like I said, in my line of work, I thought it might just be the best to not take the risk.
I just want to go back to the Pittston thing.
Yeah.
And how the good job you think your uncle has done.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it you are a Republican? Because I'm right that your uncle is not.
That's right.
I assume
Yeah.
the council member is not.
That's correct.
How did that happen when you became a Republican in a Democratic town and family?
Yeah, my family's always been very conservative, my immediate family. And, they always encouraged me to think for myself. And I'll tell you what, it's very difficult being a conservative, being a young conservative. Especially when I was in college, there was a lot of pressure to, become more liberal and, not hold my viewpoints the way that I do and protect them the way that I do. But I never wavered in that. I always felt very strongly about the things I believe. Now, I have obviously changed many of the things I believe from when I was 16, 17 years old to now that I'm 28. I think that the thing about my relatives is that they don't do the thing that's right for Republicans or the thing that's right for Democrats. They do the thing that's right for everybody. And that's kind of what I hope to do as well. I never want to have to make the Republican decision or the Democrat decision. I want to make the decision that's going to be the best for the county. And, like I said, that's sort of the philosophy that they have, and it's the one that I want to bring countywide.
Now, right now, the Republicans have a majority on the council, right? Well, they're not really a unified bloc.
Yeah.
Who would you see yourself allying with on the council?
That's kind of a difficult question to answer because I know about half of them on council personally. I don't necessarily know that I see myself aligning with anybody. I'm a pretty independent thinker. And I think I could agree with all of them at one point and maybe disagree with all of them at another point. I think that they all bring great things to the table, and I just kind of hope to be in addition to that.
Are you running in conjunction with anyone? Is there a unified Republican ticket or?
The county Republican Party is pushing all 5 Republicans, but you know, we are all running our own personal campaigns. I'm running my own campaign, my own style, my own, you know, talking points and things I'd like to do on council, and I obviously know that every other candidate, you know, whether Republican or Democrat, they're all doing their own thing as well. So no, I'm not really running in as a unified bloc, but I'm not, you know, yeah.
If elected, would this be a stepping stone for your career? Do you have aspirations to seek higher office, like state level, things like that? What do you?
You know, like I said before, I'm, you know, very community oriented. You know, I want to serve this community. I want to be here. You know, I went away to college and I came back and I loved University Park. I loved State College. It was a great, you know, like second home for me. And it was a nice change of pace, and it was a different taste of what life could be like outside of Northeast Pennsylvania. But I wanted to come back, and I know that this is the place where I want to be. So, you know, I don't see myself necessarily going somewhere where I won't be able to effectuate change for Northeastern Pennsylvania. And right now, I think Luzerne County Council is the best way for me to do it.